Yo, what is going on, guys? Got some more BT4 Great Legend games for you guys. I'm super excited about this deck that I am playing down at the bottom. I am playing a Blastmon version of black, and as you can see, my opponent is playing a green deck focused around some of the newer cards from the starter decks, the green starter deck, as well as Nidhoggmon. So you saw that my opponent played the Tentomon there. You're supposed to reveal the top card, and it is indeed a green Digimon. It was a Lilymon, and you get to add it to your hand. So it's almost like a Gabumon, kind of, but you're not guaranteed the +1. It only works when it's a green Digimon, but I guess if you're not playing any option cards or anything like that, you're pretty much guaranteed to get that +1. So my opponent does have the Agumon in the back as well. And for my turn, I just went into Toy Agumon, who's always still a good card. The reboot ability is still very, very viable. And then I went into the Chumon and Commandermon. Unfortunately, my hand is looking pretty shitty. Like you see, I've got double Gotsumon, got a Blitzgreymon, and a final Zubagon Punch. So no level 4s, no level 5s. So not really sure what I can do about that except kind of just wait. My opponent is just going off. So he went into Blastmon and then Hidden Potential discovered to suspend his Nidhoggmon and Digivolve it for 0. Nidhoggmon is an absolute monster of a card. It has the Digiburst 4 effect, so you basically have to trash everything from its sources, but what it does is suspend everything with 5,000 or less DP, and then everything that is suspended on your opponent's side of the field gets sent back to the bottom of the deck, and then of course all sources are trashed and stuff like that, and then he's just going to end his turn by playing the Agumon 4/3. So I'm already getting to work. Like, a 13,000 DP monster wasn't like, that was already pretty bad, but then now he's got his board established. I've got nothing on field. I bring out the Toy Agumon instead, like, anyways, just because, like, there's nothing else I can really do. There's no point in sitting on it. I'm going to hard play the Blastmon for 13. Blastmon is a very interesting card. He has security attack +1, which is really good for a 3 cost Mega, especially because he's 13,000, which is also like pretty crazy, right? But he does have that downside where basically your opponent can always block him if they have a Digimon on field. Like, they can always choose to block. Now the new Sunazarimon, I believe his name is, kind of gets around that because it gives him piercing. Like, anything with 13,000 or more gets piercing, so then it doesn't matter if your opponent blocks. I am playing that card. We'll see if like I draw it, but anyways, my opponent is going to go into the Lilymons and just going to use all of that memory to his advantage. When you give green 10 memory, like, they can do a lot, right? You see he's got double Roachmon. Roachmon's a fantastic card because it's just the cheapest you can possibly get a level 4 Digimon, right? It's a 3 to play and a 1 to evolve, so it's good regardless of which way you're going. He's going to go into Ceresmon. Again, Ceresmon is very powerful with the Digizorption effect, letting you essentially cheat 3 memory by just suspending one of your Digimon, and then he also has the effect where you can use Digizorption by, instead of suspending your own Digimon for the cost, you can suspend your opponent's Digimon, and then that works super well because you've got these super beefy Digimon like the Ceresmon, like the Nidhoggmon, stuff like that. So he's going to attack my security, and then Lilymon's effect is going to activate, just being able to suspend any one of my Digimon that does not have blockers, so that's going to be the Blastmon. And then he's going to check one security card, and he's going to also attack with the Nidhoggmon here. He actually does want to just suicide and kill my Blastmon, which I thought was kind of an interesting move. I guess he didn't have the Chaosmon, because otherwise, why wouldn't he just go Chaosmon and attack over it, hit me with piercing? But anyways, Nidhoggmon already did his job. He's just going to round off his turn by Digivolving that Blastmon and playing the Agumon level 3 from his hand. I finally drew into something that is not a Mega or something, but into the Numemon there. But then you see I've got the Omnimon Ultras, which is again a very powerful card, but I need to get him on the field first. So this is a very aggressive version of black. You see I'm playing the Blitzgreymon, the Blastmon, and it's really cool because black is notoriously like a defensive deck, right? But all out of these cards, out of BT4, we're getting all these new cards that help us out with like a more aggressive strategy, and you can play a deck that's not just black blocker. you know. So that's pretty exciting for me. So he's going to drop another Nidhoggmon. Of course, I should have expected that for 5 and, you know, send both of my Digimon back to the bottom of the deck because they both were very weak, and just by trashing all of his Digivolution sources. I'm going to start my turn with 3, and again, it is not looking good. He's got overwhelming board presence with 4 Digimon, 2 of which are Mega level. I drew into the Dark Tyrannomon that is new out of the black starter deck, which is nice. It's a 1-cost blocker, but no ultimates in hand, so I'm not going to be able to resolve any sort of Blitz Greymon effects or Omnimon Ultra S or anything like that. So he can just suspend my blocker if he does have you know, an appropriate Digisorption target in hand, which he does. So he's going to use Ceresmon's effect to Digivolve into the Blastmon for free by suspending my Digimon. So it's just such a powerful Digimon that can control your opponent's board, and then that works very well with Nidhoggmon because you can suspend, like, you know, Ceresmon's effect does not discriminate. Like, it doesn't have a limit to what Digimon you can suspend. Like, it can be any Digimon, and then as long as it's suspended, Nidhoggmon can set it back to the bottom of the deck, whether it's a level 6 or a 7 or anything. So he's going to run into security. Unfortunately, ran into the Blastmon in security, which was clutch for me. Blastmon put in work, but even with that, he's going to still take the lead. He's going to play that Yoshino Fujieda Tamer card, which lets you return one of your Digi-Eggs to the bottom of your Digi-Egg deck. So it's one of the few cards we've seen that actually lets you recycle and, like, interacts with your Digi-Egg deck. So not only that, but then it also reduces, like, you can suspend her to reduce the Digivolve cost of a Digiburst Digimon, which includes Nidhoggmon, Hercules, Kabuterimon, Lilamon, all those really powerful cards. Reduce that cost by 1. So it's just a very, very good Tamer card in my opinion. I'm going to just bring out my blocker and then play the God. This is what it's come down to. I'm just forced to play, you know, multiple blockers, which is nice that this deck, even though it is an offensive version of black, I can still play very defensively if I need to. But you know, my back is against the wall. He's going to attack with the Ceresmon, not going to be able to suspend anything because, you know, I do have blockers on field, and then he is going to attack with his remaining Digimon, and I'm just going to scoop it up. I did have 2 blockers, but there was nothing I could do. So game 2, I'm going to go ahead and start Digivolving into the Chumon on top of the Kakinmon, which lets you, you know, give 1 memory, gain 1 memory anytime you're attacking, as long as that Digimon is level 7. So it works well because I am playing a bunch of level 7 Digimon. I think I'm also playing Chaosmon in here. And another thing about black is, like, black low-key is, like, although it's not known to be the most offensive, it has a lot of level 7s that I can go into, like Chaosmon, Ultras, Ragnalord, Millenniumon. Like, basically, I think it has the most level 7s accessible in the game out of any color. So anyways, my opponent is going to set up with his own Lilymon. Lilymon is scary. If you don't have a blocker on field, it can just suspend anything for free. Like, it's a really powerful Digimon. So I'm going to set up with my Megidramon, which is a vanilla himself, but he has the inherited effect of blocker, which is really cool because we've only ever seen that on Bribeludramon. Like, he has the inherited effect of blocker, so he can basically make Blastmon a 13,000 blocker, which is kind of the strategy I'm going for. Not only does Blastmon become, like, a very powerful, like, one-punch Digimon, right? He can hit you for multiple security checks, and he's 13,000, but he can also become a blocker. So now that I've got that set up, he kind of dodges the Lilymon, and I can put my opponent in check for just a little bit because he's outside of the range of Nidhoggmon. Nidhoggmon can only suspend, you know, dudes with 5,000 or lower, and I'll just be able to deter him from attacking at least for a while until he's able to answer that. So my opponent is going to set up with his own blockers. He's got the Kabuterimon there. That is the starter deck Kabuterimon, which is super good. Again, the 1-cost blockers are just so useful in many different decks, and I'm wondering what he could go into here. He's just going to Digivolve into another Lilymon in the breeding area, and it is going to pass over to me. So my hand is looking much better this time around. I do also have the Izzy in hand, so if I want to guarantee myself 3 memory every single turn, I might be doing that. I'm going to go ahead and swing with the Blastmon first because I do have the Ultra S in my hand, so I think I'm going to do that afterwards. he's going to choose to not block, so I'm going to check 2 security cards because Blastmon does have security tech +1, and what I can do after that is just go into Omnimon Alter S for a cost of 6, draw 1 card, de-digivolve everything on the field by 1, and then after that everything with 5,000 or lower is deleted. So that is both of his Digimon, which is super nice. So like you see here, I was just able to completely clear his field and establish my presence, but now I'm taking control of this game with the Ultra S. So, now, if he does go Nidhoggmon here, that would be extremely unfortunate, because I do have a suspended Digimon. He's going to play the Yoshino, Tamer card, and then get back a Digi-Egg to the bottom of his deck. That's also really nice, because I believe his deck was only running like 4 Digi-Eggs. He's just playing the 4 copies of Argomon level 2, so there's no need for the 5th copy because you're playing Yoshino. He's going to go into Nidhoggmon for a cost of 4, and there it is. So Nidhoggmon suspends everything with 5,000 or lower, and then everything that is suspended gets sent back to the deck, which is just super powerful. Again, I can't say enough good things about that card. People thought it might be a little bit unplayable because of HPD, and I just wholeheartedly disagree. Like, HPD, of course, made it even more ridiculous, but I still think it is a very valuable strategy. I'm going to go ahead and Digivolve into Toy Agumon and then Numemon. Toy Agumon giving the reboot ability, being able to potentially dodge the Nidhoggmon is huge, I think. So then after that, I'm just going to play the Izzy. Izzy lets me reveal the top 3 and stack my deck in any order, stack those cards in whatever order I want, and if all of those cards were black, I gain 1 memory. So unfortunately, Omnimon is a white Digimon, so not going to gain the memory, but I still established my memory tamer, so I'll be able to gain 3 every single turn. My opponent is going to start his turn by just Digivolving into the Agumon and then Digivolving into the Kabuterimon there, just drawing cards and establishing his blocker. Going to swing into security with the Nidhoggmon for 13,000. I don't think that, like, aside from Blastmon and, like, my 7s, I still think it's a good idea to swing. Like, it's unlikely he'll die with the Nidhoggmon, and after that he's just going to play the Argomon level 3 and pass turn. So I'm going to bring out my Numemon, and then now I've got the Megidramon on top of it with Blastmon. So now Blastmon, not only does he have the blocker, but he also has reboot. So now I can swing, check 2 security cards, and he'll become unsuspended during my opponent's unsuspend phase because of the Toy Agumon. So my opponent's going to attack with the 13,000. I'm going to not block that because it would be suicide, and he's going to run into the Gagmamon in security there. So I'm wondering what else he get. If he had a Chaosmon, that might be extremely unfortunate because then he could just run over my Blastmon and Piercing, or if he had a Valderon, that would also be pretty huge. He's going to Digivolve into the Argomon level 4, paying the cost, not choosing to suspend any one of his Digimon, which I thought was interesting. But I mean, I could just attack over them next turn. Now, he can, again, keep in mind he can block the Blastmon because of its effect, which is a little bit unfortunate. But I'll still be able to at least get rid of one of his Digimon that way. I'm going to start my turn with 3 because of Izzy. Digivolve into the Gotsumon there, and you see the final Zubagon Punch in my hand, which is a 2-cost option card. It gives my Blastmon 13,000, or not 13,000, it gets extra 3,000, and then if that Digimon has 13,000 or more, it gets Reboot, Security Attack +1, and Blocker. So it just becomes a monster of a card. I'm not going to use that just yet, but I am going to swing with the Blastmon. He's going to block with his actual blocker, which is a good move because it was a champion. Not going to want to give up his like Lilymons or anything like that. Now after this, I think going Alter S might be a decent move. But it would only get rid of the Lilymon. Yeah, I was checking there to see what the DP of that guy underneath him is. So I'm just going to go into Alter S, and now keep in mind, so I'm going to resolve Alter S's ability, de-digivolve the Lilymon, the Argomon level 4 will die, and then he is going to become unsuspended during my opponent's unsuspend phase because he does have reboot, and he's a blocker. So now I've got a 15,000 blocker on play, and this is kind of like a really cool interaction because, 15,000 blocker, what's getting around that? Like, not even Chaosmon, which I know his deck is playing, both Chaosmons are only 14k. And I mean, he'd have to have like the Agumon plus like, I don't know, like some other attack boosting effect. But he's just going to Digivolve. He's going to play that Agumon and then Digivolve the Argomon in the back. I'm going to bring out my Gotsumon. So you see the final Zubagon Punch. Now, it is not actually color restricted like the Digimon you're giving the DP to does not actually have to be black. So I'm going to make my Omnimon 18,000. plus 3,000, he's going to gain 1 memory because of the Digimon. Check 2 security cards because he gets security attack plus 1. And then he'll get reboot and blocker, but he already just has those effects inherently. And then to round things off, I'm going to play a Gotsumon for a cost of 3. During my opponent's unsuspend phase, Omnimon will become unsuspended. And now with only 1 security, he is in threat of, or like in jeopardy of losing the game. I'm posing a serious threat to him, and I've got triple blockers on the field, so there's there's not many things he can do. He's just going to Digivolve into the Argomon level 4 there, using its effect of Digisorption to suspend it, and then draw a card and not have to pay the memory cost, and then Digivolves into the Blastmon again for another 0 cost. I think he's just trying to dig through his deck, maybe for a Chaosmon or something, or a blocker, but unfortunately he's just going to play the Roachmon for 3. I'm going to go ahead and attack without any blockers. That is going to be game, and even though he's got the Flower Cannon, all of my Digimon do have blocker on field, so it's not going to affect any of them. So that's going to be game 2. So game 3, my opponent is going to start. That was a super hype ending. I feel like the Flower Cannon was almost clutch, but just missed my blockers. So guys, that's going to be game 3, because I actually ended up misplaying like multiple times, so I felt like it wasn't appropriate for me to upload like a game that was borderline like messed up. Anyways guys, so that's going to be the video. If you did enjoy and you want to see more profiles and more games like this, go ahead and let me know. But thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time.